Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
So today, we're tackling a topic you see everywhere, seriously, online, in the supermarket aisles. Superfoods.
That word, it definitely grabs your attention.
Yeah, exactly. It just sounds like it has, special abilities or something, like a food cape.
It certainly sounds appealing. I mean, the idea that just one food could give you exceptional health benefits, well, that's powerful for anyone trying to eat better.
Absolutely. And you can't escape it. So our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack the source material you've given us this article, Superfoods or Superhype, from the nutrition source.
Right.
We want to figure out what superfood really means. Where did it even come from? How does it work today?
And maybe most importantly, what's the best way to think about healthy eating based on this analysis?
Exactly. Because the source seems to dig into the whole story behind the term, not just list foods.
It does. It traces the history and the hype.
Okay, so let's start right there. When we hear superfood, what does it actually mean? The article kicks off with something pretty significant.
Which is?
That there's no, official scientific definition, no regulation behind it.
That's really the crux of it, isn't it? Unlike terms like, say, high fiber or low sodium that might have specific rules, superfood doesn't.
Huh.
It's not defined by health authorities based on, strict scientific criteria. It's much more of a popular term.
So if there's no rule book, how is it generally used? What makes something get called a superfood?
Well, the source explains it's typically applied to foods that are seen as being really nutrient dense, packed with vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing.
Okay, nutrient-packed. Makes sense.
Or maybe they're linked, sometimes pretty loosely, mind you, to preventing certain diseases.
Ah, the disease prevention angle.
Right. Or they're just believed to offer sort of multiple health benefits that go beyond just basic calories and protein.
It really sounds like it's more about perception, though, what we think it does, rather than a hard scientific fact.
Exactly. And the article mentions the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition, which kind of captures that.
What does it say?
It defines it as a food, such as salmon, broccoli, or blueberries, that is rich in compounds, such as antioxidants, fiber, or fatty acids, considered beneficial to a person's health.
Considered beneficial. That's the key phrase, maybe.
I think so. It shows it's about the popular understanding, which, as the source suggests, is often shaped more by marketing and, general buzz than by a regulatory agency.
Okay, this leads to something the source brings up that I found, really surprising. You'd sort of assume superfood came from nutrition science, right? Some lab discovery.
That would be the logical assumption.
But the article suggests the roots might be way older and much more commercial, like early 20th century marketing.
It's fascinating. The source points to this potential origin story around World War I involving the United Fruit Company.
United Fruit. Wait, promoting bananas? Are you saying one of the very first superfoods might have been the humble banana?
It seems pretty wild compared to today's goji berries and chia seeds, doesn't it?
Totally. So what'd they do?
Well, the source says they launched this big campaign. They advertised bananas as, practical, cheap, nutritious, easy to digest, widely available, good cooked or raw, and even highlighted that it came in its own sort of germ-proof package.
Huh.
Nature's packaging.
Exactly. And they gave people ideas. Put it on your cereal, in salads, fry it with meat, not just eating it straight.
That sounds like, normal food advertising. How did it become super?
This is where it gets really interesting. According to the source, it's about endorsement. The term, or the idea behind it, really gained steam when medical journals and actual physicians started endorsing banana diets.
Doctors got involved. For what?
For conditions like celiac disease and diabetes, believe it or not. The American Medical Association apparently announced back then that bananas could relieve, maybe even cure, celiac disease in children.
Wow, but that was before they knew about gluten, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Long before gluten was identified as the culprit in celiac. So the science was, let's say, incomplete.
But that medical stamp of approval, even based on shaky science, must have been huge.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah.
The source says it basically turned the banana into this symbol of health.
I can imagine.
It became recommended especially for babies and kids. The company, of course, leaned heavily into these health claims in their ads.
Naturally.
And then the popular press picked it up, creating what the article calls a banana diet craze.
A banana diet craze? That's amazing. Such a clear early example of marketing, health perception, and maybe flawed medical advice all coming together.
It really is a blueprint almost.
Okay, so that's the potential origin. Fast forward today, and it feels like there's a new superfood announced like every other week. The pace is just relentless.
That's the huge difference. The source highlights the speed.
Yeah.
Information spreads virally now.
Yeah.
The article basically lays out the modern formula.
Yeah.
You take some scientific research, maybe it's preliminary, maybe it's taken a bit out of context, combine that with some catchy headlines in the media, and then unleash the food industry's marketing machine.
And boom, a new superfood friend is born. And this isn't just talk, right? The source says this translates into serious money. Superfoods, super sales.
Oh, absolutely. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry we're talking about. The article cites Nielsen data showing people are genuinely willing to pay more for foods they think are healthier.
I believe it.
And putting those health claims right on the package, that really boosts sales, especially if it's a food people already kind of see as healthy. It just confirms their belief.
Right. Like, if you already think blueberries are good for you, seeing high in antioxidants just makes you more likely to grab that specific brand.
Exactly. And the source mentions this underlying belief that food is medicine. Something like 80% of people in that Nielsen survey felt that way.
That's a powerful driver.
Huge. It pushes people towards whole foods, plant-based stuff, fruits, veggies, grains, which are often the candidates for the superfood label anyway. So for the industry, slapping that label on is, well, it's smart business. It taps right into what consumers want.
And the growth is undeniable. The article mentioned Mintel research from 2015.
Yeah, 36% jump globally in products launched with superfood, superfruit, or supergrain on the label in just 1 year.
36%. Wow. And the U.S. was leading that charge.
Right. And it listed some trendy ingredients around 2017 based on startup data, things we still hear about. Quinoa, ancient grains, chia, kale.
Still popular.
Definitely. Plus others gaining steam like pea protein, seaweed, ginger, turmeric, matcha, oats, barley, chickpeas. Lots of healthy stuff, but the superfood status gives them that extra market push.
Let's look at another specific example the source uses to illustrate this whole process, the blueberry.
Ah, yes. The blueberry story is a great case study, almost the poster child for modern superfoods.
It really is. How did it get so big? The source connects it partly to government research.
That's right. Back in 1991, scientists at the National Institute on Aging and the USDA developed this tool called ORAC.
ORAC, what's that stand for?
Oxygen Radical Absorbance Capacity. It was designed to measure the antioxidant capacity of different foods.
Antioxidants. Those are the things that supposedly fight free radicals, help prevent cell damage.
That was the general thinking, yes. So the USDA created this database ranking foods by their ORAC score. Things like cocoa, berries, spices, legumes, they scored really high.
Okay, so blueberries probably scored well.
They did. And this data became fuel for heavy promotion. Blueberries were marketed as these amazing disease fighters, good for cancer prevention, brain health, heart health, you name it.
Even if, as the article hints, the direct link between that specific score and actual human health outcomes wasn't super solid at the time.
That seems to be the point. The marketing claims may have gotten a bit ahead of the definitive human studies for that specific metric. And here's the kicker the source points out. 20 years after releasing the database, the USDA actually retracted the ORAC information. They took the database down.
They retracted it, pulled it back. Why?
According to the source, they decided that antioxidants do a lot of different things in the body, not just fight free radicals in the way ORAC measured. And crucially, the score itself wasn't a reliable predictor of a food's actual health benefit in people.
So the scientific basis for some of that specific hype was officially walked back. But did blueberry sales crash?
Not a chance. The article notes that while the hype was building between 98 and 2006, U.S. blueberry production doubled.
Doubled.
It kept going up right through 2016 based on USDA data. The idea was already planted in people's minds. The retraction didn't really undo the perception.
That's incredible. It really shows the power of that initial buzz in marketing, even if the science gets refined later. And blueberries are just one case study. The source lists a ton of others.
Oh yeah, it's an A to Z almost. Acai, almonds, avocado, broccoli, cacao.
Chia seeds, eggs, garlic, goji berries.
Green tea, kale, kefir, mangosteen, pomegranate.
Salmon, seaweed, wheatgrass. It's a long list.
And like we said, many are genuinely nutritious foods. But the superfood label tends to isolate one or two aspects and make that the selling point.
Okay, so we've got this history, the marketing angle, the sometimes wobbly science. What's the bottom line here? What does the source say we should actually do if we want to eat healthily?
Well, the core message really is that while lots of these superfoods are good for you, The term itself is much more about driving sales than giving sound nutritional advice.
And just chasing the latest trendy superfood might not be the best strategy.
It could even be counterproductive. The source makes a great point. If you're totally focused on, say, kale this month and acai the next,
Yeah.
you might completely ignore other really healthy foods that just aren't getting the same hype. Like, lentils or cabbage or apples. They're nutritional powerhouses too, but maybe not as trendy.
So it's not about finding that one magic bullet food.
Exactly. The source really pushes the importance of dietary variety, eating a wide range of healthy foods.
Why is variety so key?
Well, for starters, it's the best way to make sure you're getting the whole spectrum of vitamins, minerals, fiber, all the different compounds your body needs.
Okay.
It also helps prevent imbalances, getting too much of one nutrient and not enough of another if you just eat the same few things all the time.
Right.
And honestly, it just makes eating more interesting and enjoyable, which helps you stick with a healthy pattern long term.
That makes total sense. So instead of a superfood, the article suggests aiming for a super plate.
That's the concept, yeah. Focus on building meals that are full of different healthy, flavorful foods. Variety is the real superstar.
How do you build a super plate?
The source mentions guides like the Healthy Eating Plate is a good visual. Fill half your plate with colorful vegetables and fruits. Get some whole grains, some healthy protein.
Lean meats, fish, beans, nuts.
Exactly. Use healthy oils, drink water, and, importantly, stay active too. It's the whole picture.
So the advice is basically explore foods, enjoy them, but don't get caught up in the marketing hype around one specific ingredient. Focus on that balanced, varied plate overall.
That's pretty much the takeaway. Sustainable health isn't usually found in a single hyped food. It's in the overall quality and variety of your diet, day in and day out.
This deep dive really highlights how that superfood label, despite its healthy halo, is deeply rooted in marketing history and economics, often running ahead of the solid science.
It puts the focus back on balance and variety, which are, the cornerstones of good nutrition advice.
So the shift from chasing superfoods to building a super plate definitely feels more grounded and, frankly, more achievable for most people.
It's a much more holistic approach.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. Given everything we've just unpacked, the history of marketing spin, the sometimes retracted science, the power of suggestion, how might you approach the next big thing you hear touted as the latest, greatest superfood? Something to chew on after our deep dive today.